If there's one saying that fits Evil Dead Rise, is that they just don't make them like they used to. As a lifelong fan of the Evil Dead series, it's with a deep sadness that the latest edition of the franchise fell short of the mark. With some fans are feeling the same disappointment as me, while some are rejoicing, all in its gory glory. That's a tongue twister. Now, before the angry mob of the 3 people watching this video call for my head on a stake, hear me out first, because there was a lot of good things to say about the film. Because I really wanted to like this movie, and had high hopes for the film with a new setting for the franchise, new characters, and more importantly, it was produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Groovy.
Maybe with such high expectations, the film ultimately left me disappointed with the final product. However, if you're a horror fan or just love movies, please do go support the movie, and don't let my opinion sway your view or anything, but there's just so much I gotta get off my chest here. The movie isn't bad, but it sure isn't groundbreaking. It just leaves you wanting just a itsy bit more, because for every one thing it did well, it did something poor. So with that being said, small amounts of spoilers from this point on. Okay.
Come get some.
When Sam Raimi first shot The Evil Dead, he balanced horror and comedy perfectly on a fine line. And if you have seen more than one movie in your lifetime, you'll know that line is razor thin. Whereas this new venture into the Evil Dead universe, directed by Lee Cronin, has some serious identity issues. Sometimes it attempts to be as goofy as Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, with some comedic shots literally lifted from Evil Dead 2. But these scenes are few and far between, making them somehow feel out of place in an Evil Dead film. Because for a majority of this movie, it wants to be a straightforward demonic possession horror flick, preferring to lean heavily on its atmospheric gore and scares. Certain scenes I genuinely couldn't tell if the film was trying to be silly or was intentionally funny. But for the most part, cinematography was fun and interesting, as many Evil Dead films should be. And it wouldn't be an Evil Dead film without the classic chase shots and signature shaky cam, with even some shots paying clear homage to Kubrick's Shining.
Go check it out.
There was good use of classic horror snap zoom, spooky lighting for a unique atmosphere, and an interesting take on the use of fisheye lens for certain scenes.
You don't look so good, Mom.
But the only aspect from a technical perspective that was off-putting was the use of split diopter shots that were really distracting. So shots where there are 2 focal planes. Here's an example. But for the most part, it's what you would want from a horror. And with this horror, it's a tried and true story of people battling evil forces after a plot device known as an earthquake uncovers the Necronomicon, aka the Book of the Dead that unleashes evil forces. 2 estranged sisters and their family must survive against the onslaught of deadites and a pretty pissed off Kandarian demon that wants them dead by dawn. Yes, they will say that in the movie.
I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
It's as Evil Dead can be, and this is actually where the film falters. It really suffers from a serious case of member berries. Do you remember the double-barrel shotgun? How about the chainsaw? Quotes from the older movie.
Groovy.
You get the point.
I understood that reference.
I was half expecting the main character by the end to drive in a yellow Delta, donning a blue shirt and saying,
Hail to the king, baby.
But what I was not expecting to find in the Evil Dead film was the heavy themes of motherhood and family, and even more surprising, they were actually really good. When Evil Dead Rise stops trying to be its predecessors, the film really succeeds. All the actors and actresses were all surprisingly really good, with one child actor that I could have swore was Newt from Aliens.
Hi.
The family feels like a real family with likable, sympathetic characters. The film incorporates surprisingly good character development, only for it to all fall flat towards the end, just trying to make room for references and Easter eggs. However, there is some genuine good horror here, with some fun scares and over-the-top violence that makes modern horror movies today look like Bambi. Like when the Necronomicon incantation is read and blared from speakers in the film, it is downright creepy, with some sound design being the real standout star here. The deadites continue to be their nasty selves, eating glass, stabbing people, saying bad words, and of of course making eggs. What? And most importantly for a lot of fans, it still has its staple over-the-top gore and blood that would make Eli Roth giddy in his nether regions.
Oh my.
Now for the bad. Oh boy. However, the most lackluster part of the film was the main antagonist. The mom felt like she was trying to channel the Joker and not a deadite. That is not meant to be a compliment. She wasn't threatening and haunting like a deadite should be. She was predictable and more cringeworthy than your average TikTok influencer. Not to mention she has Emperor Palpatine's eyes from Revenge of the Sith and a poor voice modulation that sounds like it came from a toy voice changer.
Mommy's with the maggots now.
What the hell is even that?
Now this isn't due to the actress's acting chops, this is more of how the character was written and directed. But that being said, the survivors throughout the film continue to make such stupid and baffling decisions that would only make sense to Brick Tamland.
You're gonna die!
Even with suspension of disbelief, it's hard to relate to characters that make decisions that not even a toddler would make. And not to mention, the main protagonist has more plot armor thicker than your mom's chunky cat, whereas expendable side characters are introduced and killed off quicker than James Franco in Alien Covenant. That is a bad film, with the final nail on this deadite coffin being its rushed ending that felt like someone forgot that the execs at New Line said it had to have a chainsaw and lots of blood, with a slapped on final showdown that felt like someone had just played Last of Us 2. I hope you get that reference. Now, Evil Dead Rise won't win any awards, but it is a fun horror that you just don't see made these days. But the film was ultimately held down by trying to differentiate itself from others in the franchise, ditching Ash and the cabin, but instead it became a rehash of the original. Possessed person trapped behind a door? Check. People unable to leave a building? Check. Systematically taken out and possessed? Check. Chainsaw, shotgun? Check. The list, unfortunately, does go on. Instead of being a unique spin on Evil Dead, it ended up exactly where I didn't want it to be, rehashing the first story. Even with a new coat of paint and a new and unfamiliar location for the Deadites to romp and play in, it feels very mean-spirited unlike its predecessors, where it would have benefited more to have a tone more akin to the spirit of the cabin in the woods. Don't get me wrong though, the film was damned if it went too far astray and damned if it was too similar. But if you want to watch Evil Dead 2 Pig in the City just with less charm and no Ash Williams, well then maybe you'll love it. It's certainly not the worst horror or even a bad one. I think I just had too high expectations for the film, and I do appreciate what the director and crew managed to achieve because they clearly had admiration and respect for the source material. So go out and watch it, see what you think and let me know what you think in the comments. See if you have as mixed opinions as I did. Thanks for watching, see you later, please like and subscribe if you liked the video, peace.